Gervonta Davis's trainer, Kenny Ellis, made a very bold statement last week about who he believed was the second best lightweight in the world after Gervonta. And it was not Shakur Stevenson. It was somebody that made a big splash last night on the undercard of Christian and Billy versus Sergey Deverenchenko. The next, could it be Terrence Crawford, Abdullah Mason? Let's talk about that in this video. Abdullah Mason has got to be one of the more talked about 15-0 fighters that I have seen in a long time, getting major hype after majorly exciting performances back to back this year. So much so that Gervonta Davis's trainer, Kenny Ellis, took note and said that he thinks this kid is better than Shakur Stevenson already. As I analyzed what he had to say, and I've been listening to what other boxing experts that come by the channel all the time have to say, I gotta say, there's some pros to that, and there's some cons to that argument. But before I get into it and talk about what it really means practically for us as boxing fans, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are new to the channel, please accept my invitation to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. And if you're a longtime subscriber and supporter of the channel, thank you very much. Can't tell you how much I appreciate you. Look, Abdullah Mason is a prodigious young man, prodigiously skilled young man, and may very well be a boxing prodigy. We don't know. We'll see that. But last night, when he stepped into the ring and did his thing again, this time in Quebec against Michael Ohan Jr., Abdullah Mason, produced a second round knockout. When I saw it, I thought to myself, okay, this is a good look. This is his third fight this year. He fought in April against Ronell Ron. He fought Luis Lebron, and then this time Mike Oman. All of them were 8-round fights. I think this is his fourth 8-round fight in a row. So, like right when you're fighting 8-rounders is right before you step up and you start having 10-rounders, or young professional fighters start having 10-rounders. And when you start doing 10-rounders, that's when you really are becoming somebody that is a contender. 8 rounds and below, I think those are, for the most part, prospect fights. So obviously, just with the amount of rounds that he's facing, he's not gotten to that top level of opposition yet. But that does not stop people from saying, look, we already think he's the second best guy in the lightweight division. Now, Kenny Ellis had been by himself on that. I would be like, okay, yeah, he's just saying that. But there's a lot of people that think that. They look at Abdullah Mason out of Cleveland, Ohio, and they see somebody that in a lot of ways resembles Terrence Crawford. Doesn't fight the same way. I'm not saying that they're the same style. I haven't seen Abdullah Mason switching stances or I'm not saying that he's fighting like Terrence Crawford or he's on Terrence Crawford's level. But if you look at his frame, if you look at how tall he is at 5'9", for a lightweight with a 74-inch reach at lightweight. That's pretty much the same build as Terrence Crawford, except for Abdullah Mason's a little bit taller. So you look at where he is at the age, I do believe he's 19 years old, very young, strong for the weight class. 15 of the 15 fights, he's only gone the distance twice. And that was one of those the last time he did that was a while ago, but 13 knockouts out of the first 15 fights. His numbers are looking very, very solid, very solid. So I think it is cool to get excited about Abdullah Mason. Another reason to really get excited about him is because he fits. He comes from a fighting family. I know he's got several other brothers that fight. I do believe his father's a trainer, so he's got a lot of institutional knowledge, and he was raised in the sport, so he's been boxing for a very long time, something that is often bodes well for fighters that are in the situation that he is in. So he has the skill set. He's from an area, Cleveland, Ohio, where there's a lot of great fighters come out of that area. It's one of the top areas to produce boxers in the world, one of the best amateur areas that there is to train and compete as an amateur in the world, especially if you're trying to go pro out of the amateurs. You know, hey, man, he's just got it similar to what's going on with Jaron Ennis, who's a little bit further, a little bit older, about I think he's like 6 years older, and further in his career, right, with with about 30 fights. But raised in Philadelphia, has got, brothers that were professional fighters, trainer for a father. I think you can see that same kind of path forward. So but to have the Top Rank connection, Bob Arum and Bob Arum's matchmakers know what they're doing with this dude, and hopefully though he will be able to overcome some of the promotional issues that held up some of the other fighters while they're at Top Rank. And it seems like so far so good because of the amount of publicity that Abdullah Mason's getting. Abdullah Mason, from the people that I talk boxing with, many of them were looking forward to the Abdullah Mason fight as much as they were looking forward to the Christian and Billy fight against Sergey Deverenchenko. And that is really saying a lot, seeing as Abdullah Mason was so far down the card, man. I don't even think he was on the main televised event on ESPN, or if he was in the very first few. Did get to see it, but can't bank on those fights lasting very long. All in all, though, is he second best in the division over Shakur Stevenson? The advantages are for Keyshawn, I'm sorry. That Abdullah is probably the bigger of the two fighters, having started at a very young age at that weight class, where Shakur Stevenson was at 126. But the body of work, come on, man, you got to give the edge to Shakur Stevenson, and until at least the very bare minimum, until Abdullah Mason starts having 10-round fights. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. Please let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Deuces.